everyone clicks the got it. We do record this part of the session because this is an area where people have prepared the training, and it's training that we want to be able to make available on the YouTube channel. So your face, your visage is going to be recorded forever. It's going to be up on the YouTube channel for people to be able to download and take advantage of in the future. So if you don't wish to have your video footage on, or you might want a timely reminder that your background is actually the conference which has already gone, and you might want to change it, or is that the only Toastmasters one you've got, Simon? Yep, fair enough, no worries at all. So tonight we've got moments of truth and club coaching specifically as our focus, and the idea here is, I think, also to recognize, without taking too much of the thunder away from Darrel, that moments of truth is being recognized not just as an exercise for clubs, but has become the structure for how our area directors now do their visits. The very focus of how those visits have been changed and what gets recorded and what gets reported is recognizing the meaning and the value of those 6 elements. I'm not going to take any other time up with introductions other than to do the formalities, which is to recognize Sue as an immediate past district director. And I don't think anybody else has had that dubious pleasure in the room. Nope. And I want to thank...
Well, not an immediate past, but a long past district governor.
Yeah.
Long past? Oh,
Judith.
Sorry, Judith. My apologies. And to recognize
Judith. I'm joking. It's all right. I don't care.
No, Judith as well. And to thank both Graeme and Sue for doing all of the groundwork which makes this happen, and for Michael and Christina for helping not only with the technology, but the experience that they can share. And I would now like to call on Darrel Klar, DTM, to run our session on moments of truth. Please welcome Darrel.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody. A great session and the end of the week. I don't know about everybody else. It's been a pretty crazy week for me, and I'm looking forward to slowing down a little on the weekend. I've got some television shows I'm looking to catch up on and just take it easy for a bit. But tonight we're going to just have a little bit of a chat about what's known as moments of truth. And I know there's some more experienced Toastmasters here and some lesser experienced Toastmasters here. But what I'd like to do before we actually get started is actually ask a question. I mentioned about being able to relax and watch my favorite TV show on the weekend. A question for you. What's your favorite TV show? Or for those of you maybe of a younger generation, what's your favorite streamed show that you watch? Because I know not a lot of people, I don't watch commercial television anymore. I'm sick of the ads, but there's so many shows around at the moment. So just have a bit of a think about, if you sit down and watch the screen, what is the show that you're most likely to sit down and watch at the moment? And yeah, I've noticed some people have started throwing it in chat, but just have a bit of an idea. Marvel, can never go wrong with Marvels. Mind you, they are full-length movies. However, there are some shorter ones now as well, which is good. And what we can see just from the chat is that there's a lot of different types of shows. We've got The Good Place. Who's that, Simon? Oh my goodness, that is the best show. If you haven't seen The Good Place yet, it's on Netflix. It is definitely one to watch. As you think about your favorite show, what is it that grabbed your attention about it? When you first saw it, what was it that caught your eye? And maybe in chat, or just have a think about it yourself now, is there was something that got your, piqued your interest, and you thought, yep, I'm going to spend some time on this. Because you'll find that there's always something. It might have been a recommendation. It might have been something that you sort of caught part of it in an ad, or you might have just happened to channel surf and flicked it, or it was a recommendation from one of the streaming services. But there's something that sort of caught your eye. But then once that happens, there's something that keeps you there. And television shows now have changed their structure from what they used to be, where it was very episodic. Now it's more, they build on each other. So instead of having a whole show within 30 minutes or an hour, whatever it might be, each consecutive show or episode builds on the previous one. And so it keeps you involved, it keeps you interested. And then what happens, of course, is you get to work or you talk to friends and you go, hey, did you watch this? And you start talking about it. And if you're on the internet, you get lots of opportunity to hear it spoken about, whether it's on Facebook or on Reddit. And so there's these communities that pop up around the different shows that are out there at the moment. And I know of shows that have actually come back after being cancelled just because of the furor of the community at hearing that this show was cancelled. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for those that have seen that was cancelled and then came back for another season. And now I hear they're thinking about making a movie. So the audience has influence over what comes out from the show. And when you have a really strong audience for the show, then that's what keeps it going. And then, of course, you get the shows where they have the audience, they become popular, and you start seeing them in the media. And they start getting recognised at, whether it's the Logies in Australia or the Emmys or the Academy Awards in Britain, United Kingdom. And so there's this recognition of these shows that achieve great things. I don't know if the show that you thought of at the start has achieved awards. There's been many epic shows that have been released over the last 5 years that have all achieved awards. And it's just interesting to think about. I mean, for me, when it comes to the weekend and I have an opportunity to stop, I'll go to one of my favorite shows. And what I've done there in 5 minutes is provide everything that we're going to be talking about for Moments of Truth. Because when we talk about Toastmasters, there's elements of it when we talk about a club that provides a Toastmaster environment, and it actually goes through all of those steps. So let's actually break into that. I'm going to open up a bit of a presentation here. Bear with me one moment. And of course, had it all lined up and there was an update and now it's disappeared. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just keep talking while I go and grab it from somewhere else. So what we've got when we talk about Moments of Truth is the ability to have not a system per se, but the chance to recognize that there is a process, a way that we can present ourselves to those around us that might be interested. A Moment of Truth is an episode, funnily enough, where a person comes in contact with any aspect of the Toastmasters experience and forms an impression. So just like we were talking about with television shows, it's exactly the same for our clubs and for our provision of Toastmasters as a service. And the way a person who is already a member or a person who's looking to discover us, their impression comes about through the way we work, okay? Now, what we've got, there's actually a Moments of Truth worksheet that we're going to work through. And I believe Graeme's made it available for download, and you can actually fill it out on the computer. It's a PDF with sections in it that you can type in as we go, if you like, or if you happen to have a printer handy, you can print it out and write on it. Okay. So what we're going to do tonight is just have a look at these moments of truth and then have an opportunity to discuss them and what it means, because just like we had every member that's here tonight had a different television show. I don't think I saw in chat a show repeated. Okay. And it's the same with Toastmasters, because people join Toastmasters for different reasons. They have, they're looking for different things out of it. But even though it's so individual, we can take that opportunity to have some consistency in what that looks like for everybody. So let's jump into that consistency level. And the first step is the first impression. Okay, so the first impression is when somebody discovers Toastmasters or discovers a Toastmaster club, then this is what they think of it as their first impression. Now, it might be that they've stumbled across the website, your club website. It might be that they've heard about it from somebody else. And in doing that, they get an impression of what to expect. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then there's the orientation. So once they've got that impetus to discover more about it, it's like, okay, so what does it actually involve? And what's going to keep me here? So as we spoke about the television shows, there's that one that we find it, and then it's, okay, so what keeps us there? And that's that membership orientation, and also leads into the fellowship, the variety and the communication. So I mentioned about how these communities are formed on Facebook or Reddit or on these social environments online around these television shows. And there's that element to our Toastmasters as well. Then, of course, we can break it down into the planning and the organization of the meeting. So having a good story and everything in the metaphor with the television shows. And then talking about the membership strength and the recognition around having that popularity and that ability to recognize clubs when they achieve. First step, first impressions. Okay. Now, there's some dot points here, but it's a lot bigger than this. And the Moments of Truth as a project, this is something Toastmasters has provided that clubs can do. I know some clubs use it as an activity for each new executive that comes in. So in the new Toastmasters year, along with having a look at the Club Success Program, they'll actually have another discussion around the Moments of Truth and what can be set in place as far as goals for working with that as a guiding light for the club for the year. So I don't know if you've already done your Moments of Truth for the year, or you've done one in 2022, maybe just pop it into the chat. So thank you, Nola. I've just seen that you've actually asked that as well. Just so we get an idea of how active this is. Because unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of clubs that take advantage of this tool. And it's something that works really well in just helping focus not only the executive, but the whole club on what it looks like for garnering new members. So the first impressions, guests are greeted warmly, guest book, having the guest book out and making sure that guests have a chance to write their name down. Now, I know different clubs do the guest book in different ways. Some clubs sort of take a role sheet and have somebody that's responsible for ticking off who's there. A club I'm involved with, we actually have a guest book, and it's not just for guests, but it's for everybody. And we actually use it for a bit of a workplace health and safety. So in case of evacuation, we can pick that up and we know that we've got everybody. I might just open the mics for a couple of seconds. If anybody has a way or an idea or concept they'd like to share around the guest book and recognising guests as they come. Anybody? Now, I can't see anybody's faces, so I don't know if somebody might be able to call out while I'm sharing. I can't actually see much. So
I'd like to go. We've not had a sign-in book for quite some time at one of my clubs, because we've usually got the information beforehand because people can't come into the building. So we don't have a book. Not sure that there's any benefit in having members sign in, because we can see who's exactly in the room at the time, and we record attendance on EasySpeak. So yeah, not sure of the value of a sign-in book myself.
Yep. So you're a corporate club? Sorry, I can't see who it is.
I wasn't Trish Brown. I was corporate club. We are a corporate club, but even at Lilydale, we don't have a sign-in book for our members.
Okay. Yeah.
Over at Frankston, over at Frankston, we have a sign-in book. We have a little table with all the name tents directly in the front. So the members, they pick up their name tent, they take it to the table, and the guests, they sign in. We usually know who's coming beforehand, but occasionally you don't. And everybody signs in there. The VPM takes that book home and contacts them directly afterwards. Just to see how they went with the meeting. So there's that follow-up there.
Excellent, yeah.
Judith Salanoa here. In two of my clubs, because one's in advanced, we have a visitor's kit, so that if someone drops in unexpectedly, with someone did and he joined the following meeting, he just walked in without contacting anyone. And so we gave him a visitor's kit, got his details. No, I didn't have a visitor's kit that night. It was a contest. Got his details, sent him some information, and then he took that and came back with it and signed up. The other club, we had a walk-in unannounced as well, and had a visitor's kit for him, so that, you know, they've got something to take home and to read. And it has an application form in it as well. Yeah. It usually has a Toastmasters magazine, and suggest some various, hopefully with different colours to make it look more interesting for them, and it usually seems to hold people.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. I think we've got time for one more.
Aaron. Yeah. So we don't have a guest book, although I had visited Rosa's club a week ago, and I was impressed with the guest book that they keep. But in our club this year, what we have started, and it's just still a idea which is going on. We have something like I'm not sure if you can see this. This is like a QR code, like this.
Okay.
So we have made a feedback form, and what we try to do in each of the meeting is just share that QR code around in the meeting, and particularly not only from the guests but from the members as well. Just seeking their feedback for the day. Okay, how do you rate the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10? What did you like? What would you think for what you want more to see? So things like that. So the advantage of creating. So we created this on a Google form. So the advantage of this is that it's all collected. And at any point of time, we can use that data to see how we are trending over a period of time. So it helps us do that.
Excellent. No, and technology is amazing. I'm in a club where there's QR codes on the bottom of the agendas, and it takes you to the district calendar and to feedback form, all of that sort of stuff. So great idea. We will move on. We're going to have a chance a little later to talk about all of these. Again, first impressions, having the room looking good, the good old Sergeant at Arms coming to the fore with making sure the meeting room's set up and Also having a convenient meeting location, worthwhile. If you've got someone coming in and particularly if you're in an area where there are a lot of professionals, then they're generally looking for a room that's professionally set up. If you're more a social or a community club, then you've got the opportunity to have a less professional, as in structured environment. You can meet in more of a social area. Obviously, inviting the guests to address the club. For me, all the clubs I've been to, if you're a guest, then you get invited to introduce yourself. And even then at the end of the meeting, just to give a few words, your thoughts of how you found the meeting. And it gives everybody an opportunity just to, feel comfortable in talking in that environment. And then, of course, asking the guests to join. So many times I've been to a club and, they've had a guest and they've been for 4 or 5 meetings even, and they've never actually asked the guest to sign the paper. So it's one of those things we just need to be aware of. So first impressions are always key, because that's what gets us coming back. Now, there's a slide at the end of this presentation that I'm not a big fan of, and I'll tell you more about it then. But first impressions obviously support getting people to continue on, and then we work on to, well, now they've become a member. So how do we orient them? How do we get them working and achieving and getting some return on that investment? So having a formal induction, presentation of the name badge or a pin, having the opportunity to provide a certificate of membership. I know some clubs do certificates. There's a few different ones. And again, when we're going to have a break in a little bit, and I invite you to share how you welcome members into the club. Assignment of mentors. Now, this is an interesting one, especially in the last week or so. I've seen Toastmasters has had a big refocus on mentorship. It's always been a part of Pathways, but now the actual mentor pathway has been refreshed. I don't know all the details yet, but I'm looking forward into reading about that. So if you check your emails, you'll actually find something about the mentor component of Toastmasters, and I'm sure the district will provide more information about that as well. Obviously, the education program and the recognition system, having the opportunity to let members know about Pathways and how to access it and sitting down. So a club I'm with, we actually ensure every new member has one-on-one time with either the VPE or somebody else that's experienced and taken through Pathways. Here, let us help you choose a path. Here's how you get in. Here's how you get ready for your icebreaker speech. So that really sets the foundation. If that foundation is set to start, then it moves on. And as part of that one-on-one time, there's also that understanding of the learning need. So why did they join? What are they looking to achieve? And we've found that works really well because the new member feels heard, that we actually, care about and are looking to support them. If you have members with any disabilities or special requirements, making sure those can be addressed. And then just the standard, having the speaking roles assigned, having the agenda created, and making sure that the members are involved in the activities.
Can I just say something there, Darrel, which is very important, which is relevant to this?
Certainly.
I'm the club coach-elect for the club, which I've been to several times. And the last time I went there was on Monday. And a young lady walked in from off the street. She'd heard about Toastmasters from someone else. And the committee, there's only 3 of them on the committee there. So we're trying to rebuild the club.
Mm-hmm.
They never approached this person at all. And I walked over to her and asked her the questions she was saying, what attracted you to Toastmasters and so on. The club is very multicultural and many of the people are English second language. So I said to the committee, the 3, we need to be aware of this. You know, it's not just a white man's club, which is what they thought they tend to treat it like. I said, you've got to understand these people are culturally and linguistically diverse, and we need to be able to approach them in different ways. Then I produced a flyer for them, which is going to be advertised soon. And I got a reply from one of the members tonight about that. I don't like pathways. We don't talk about it at the club. We just want to mentor and teach people what to do. In fact, he said, me, and he mentioned another guy and the third guy, we're just dinosaurs. We're not interested in this. And I said to him, I'm not surprised then your club is failing. But it just, I suppose, reinforces what you're saying. First of all, we have to know why people come. We shouldn't just rush it on with an application form. And what it's been my experience that every member of a club surrounds people sometimes like bloody seagulls around a chip, and it overwhelms new people. One person approaches them is a much better way, and then do it, over time. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's certainly, you can underrepresent and overrepresent as well. So again, it's just, being able to recognize, where people are at. If someone's really shy, they don't want, a whole heap of attention drawn to them. You don't sort of go, hey, look, everybody, here's somebody new, and it's you. Having that opportunity and that emotional intelligence just to be able to, understand where somebody's at when they come in. But once they're a member, finding out why they're there, and it's just like the television show. People come in because of their first impression, but they stay because of the story, because of the investment, the return that they get on that. Alrighty, so from there, Moments of Truth talks about, now we get into fellowship. Now we get into the opportunity for really embedding the chance to have that community created. And it's interesting that community and communication all stem from commune, which is home. And it's around that ability to make people feel welcome. And Moments of Truth, this third one is probably my favorite of all of the 6 elements, because while, it's about the learning and it's about the personal development, you can come for the meat and 3 veg, but you stay for the dessert. It's really something that if you get above what you're expecting, then you're more likely to stick around. So having not just enjoyable educational meetings, but, maybe the occasional social event, having a Christmas in July or a dinner out and about. And the clubs I'm involved with, we try to have at least 1, if not 2 dinners a year, just so that we can meet outside the club. So it's not all about, pathways. It's not all about, the executive. We have a chance to have some fun as well as having that focus. Obviously, participation in the events outside of the club as well. So it's contest season, and it's a great chance for people to see what's happening outside of their club, and especially when we're talking about online activities as well. So making it possible for people to see the bigger picture. They may just think, oh, well, I'm a club, but they may not know that there's, 3 states involved in the area, and it's a lot bigger, and then bigger and bigger still. So having this ability to provide a community and a fellowship that they feel a part of, rather than training that they're going to. And another way that it can support that is through the club newsletter or the website. So having it so that it's a bit of a resource for people as well. So, you can have shout outs, you have birthdays, you can have, your recognition of awards that have been achieved, and just that social opportunity that's available for the clubs as well. So it doesn't need to be, a social event. You can have it social within the club through a newsletter or the website as well. So keep this in mind when we have a break in a bit. I'll be asking you to think about that as well. So we've got the community in place and the television shows, you've got your audience there now. So now it's about, okay, we've got to make it worthwhile. And this is where having, a strong structure in place really supports that. Agendas. I have a golden rule for me with agendas. The agenda should be out greater than 7 days prior to the meeting. And for clubs that are struggling, I can almost guarantee that that is not happening. Because what happens is if a club's got the agenda out, then the members that know they're speaking have time to prepare. Members that can't make it have time to put in their apologies. Whereas if the agenda comes out 2 days before, then it's a bit of a panic and people don't prepare, so the projects aren't completed properly. You've got people that get too nervous, so they just apologise rather than actually showing up to present the speech. And so for me personally, I've found the further out from the meeting you can provide the agenda, the better, by a long, long shot. So I don't know, I'm sort of keeping a bit of an eye on time, but maybe 2 or 3 minutes if anybody would like to make a comment about that, what they've found about agendas as well.
No, I'd agree with you, Darrel, 100%, because the lack of an agenda leads you to that impromptu start of the meeting. Well, I haven't got this role. Has anyone got a speech prepared? And I need someone to evaluate. And throwing someone into an evaluation position where I always encourage the relationship of the speaker and the evaluator prior to the meeting. You can't do that unless you have that degree of organization. And it doesn't matter how wonderful all of your members are in stepping in and doing things. If they get into the habit of only doing it because they have to, they're missing the point.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody else?
Yeah. This is something which our club started last year. Our last VP started, and we are continuing this year as well. That the agenda, the VP, they try to make it, or they start it in the meeting, in the current meeting itself for the next meeting. So what they do is they open up their laptop and they start calling out, and that is an opportunity for us. So those new members in our club, that's an opportunity for us to kind of motivate them to put in for roles, the starting roles like timer or some of the other supporting roles on the agenda. So that kind of gets them involved right from the start itself. That makes them as a member of the club who's contributing to the agenda. So that's something that we start, and then it develops. So immediately on the meeting itself, at least 1 or 2 speakers have confirmed. So it's something which helps us to develop by the next meeting.
Absolutely. And to your first point, we've got a couple of people that have put in chat that it's quite common now. I see there are clubs that are actually building the agenda at the meeting for the next meeting. You've got people who are saying, yes, I want to do this speech. I want to, undertake this role because it's towards this particular project. And having that notice means you've got that commitment, and it works really well. Yep. Having the members being willing to carry out program assignments. One thing I've found with pathways, especially at the higher levels, are the projects that take more than, like, it's not just about preparing a speech, but you've got to work on something for 2 weeks or 2 months to be able to undertake the project to complete it. So we just need to be aware as VPEs that if we're looking to help people get those higher levels, we need to provide that opportunity and recognition to schedule them in for 2 months' time. So they're working on this, and yes, you're speaking at the end of November, and that actually commits them then to working on the project rather than going, oh yeah, no, I didn't get started. It actually helps them work through those longer projects as well. Obviously, meetings beginning and ending on time. There's just that level of expectation. Some people really feel that time is important to them, and if it starts late, then it's almost disrespect because you're not respecting their time, and ending on time as well. I've been to a couple of club meetings where it finished sort of 20 minutes after the due time. It's just, there's not much good that can come out of it, and it can generate a lot of bad emotional feeling towards it. So just be aware of making sure. It's like the business sessions. If you're in the general business, if the red light comes on, then general business is finished. It doesn't matter, if you still got 6 things to talk about, unless you coordinate it and set that expectation. But if time's up in general business, time's up, and we need to have a look at managing the whole meeting to work with that as well. Obviously, table topics. Table topics is an opportunity to have some fun in the meetings. And another one that supports that, and I'd be interested at the end of the, when we come back from our break, to talk about the Harkmaster role. One of my favorite roles, because for me, communication is two-way. And the Harkmaster is where someone listens throughout the whole meeting and asks questions at the end of the meeting to see if members have been listening. And so it's not just about presenting, but it's also being a good audience as well. And then obviously evaluations. That's the keystone of Toastmasters, is getting that feedback and being able to learn from that. So we've got that structure there now for our members. And then our membership strength. And obviously we're in an environment now where we've had a couple of years where we've all had a big hit, and everybody's sort of rebuilding mode at the moment. I know some clubs have done really well and come out well the other side, or have been able to build quickly, and others are struggling. So it's interesting that, in case you didn't know, with the Distinguished Club program now, rather than have 20 members or a net gain of 5, it's now a net gain of 3. So they're supporting that ability, because there are so many clubs that got enough ticks to be able to earn it. They just didn't have the members. And, they've changed that up. And I don't know if that's just temporary or whether it's going to stick for a while, but having the members, because if somebody comes in and there's only 6 members there, it's a lot trickier to get them to stick around. And so that's where, while rebuilding clubs, we invite members from other clubs to come in and have that activity there. Promotion in the club's organisation. So if you're a corporate club, get the name of the club out there in the organisation, or if you're a community club, out into the community. The VPPR, getting out there and letting people know that the club exists. Having those programs, those agendas that are exciting, and recognising Toastmasters that invite people in to come and have a look. It's one thing I know in a couple of my clubs that it hasn't been recognised, where there's this sponsorship model. So if a member brings a guest to a meeting and they become a member, then that member that brought them can actually be recognised as a sponsor. And there's actually recognition and kudos. I can't think of the term I'm trying to think of. For those that help build a club by bringing guests along. And for me, we've got someone here tonight, and she'll be talking a little later. My hat goes off to Alison Do. I would suggest she's introduced 12 members to the North Adelaide Toastmasters Club over the last year and a half. If you've got somebody like that in your club, then recognise it. And that's where the sponsor role comes in. So when you actually assign or create a member in Toastmasters website, it actually asks, is there a sponsor? And you can have that recognition there. And then obviously having these membership building programs. So whether you do Speechcraft, or, you might do a program where you're promoting at the local library or something like that, where there's that opportunity to bring people in. And then finally, just because of time, I'm pushing through that. A lot of us know that, but recognition. One of the key elements to growth is actually being recognized by others, because quite often we don't see it ourselves. And especially when you've got somebody coming in that's unsure of themselves, and especially, you know, if you can't stand up and speak in front of a group, then you're not a confident person. So to have someone say, hey, look, well done, then that's how you build confidence. And I think Toastmasters has that built in, but whether clubs are utilizing it enough, especially with pathways now, at our clubs, if a member completes a level, they get presented with a certificate. Congratulations, completion of level 1. Let's charge through on level 2 now. And just having that recognition at the front of the group not only supports the person receiving the recognition, but all the other members going, oh, okay, how long's it been since I've been up there? And it actually generates a bit of interest in progression. Because if you've got somebody and they've never been up there, then they start to wiggle a bit in their seats and feel a little uncomfortable. So it's sort of a natural motivator. Having charts displayed. So the district has provided charts for recording where people are at in their pathways and their achievements. The district is always big on recognising club, district and international leaders. In the newsletter, we've got the recognition of the levels that have been achieved and those that have committed time and leading the environment. So, and of course, the final point there is the Distinguished Club Program. So achievement recognition is great for the individual getting the achievement, but I want to make sure everybody understands that it's also good for the club, because other people then see that people are achieving. And so they know that if they put in the effort, then they can achieve as well. So what I'd like to do, I've gone a bit longer than what I'd hoped. So maybe just for sort of 8 minutes, Graeme, could we split into 6 groups? So we're going to have 6 rooms. Those that go into room 1, I want you to talk about, if I come back to here, first impressions. So room 1, first impressions, and just talk about what that means for you and your club, and just share some ideas. Group 2 or room 2 will be around that membership orientation. How do you work when somebody comes on board? Do you have a formal induction? What's their orientation to pathways? Group 3, fellowship, variety and communication. And again, all of these go into further detail on the worksheet that you've got as well. Room 4, program planning and meeting organisation. Room 5, around membership strength and how to support that and what that can provide. And then room 6, achievement recognition. Okay, so what I want to do, everybody break into one of those rooms, and Graeme will push everybody out there. And then we'll have, so I've got 44. So let's come back at 05. That's 10 minutes. Yeah, let's come back at 05. Sorry, 55. And we'll just have a quick discussion following that. Any questions before we head to the rooms?
Hopefully the rooms are named based on what we're talking about, because no one's going to remember.
Well, there's 6 items here. If everybody's got their form, so if you're in room 5, then you're the 5th point. So hopefully that's enough. If you don't remember, then somebody in the room will, I'm sure.
I've written them down.
Okay, I'm opening the rooms.
Thanks, Graeme. And here we are. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good opportunity to really nut some things out there in your groups. There is one thing I just wanted to mention, just because I know the Toastmaster is going to cut me off pretty soon. Just in chat, who's used the navigator? This is an interesting one, because the navigator is probably the most underutilized tool that is available on the Toastmasters website. And for new members, it is really useful for being able to get in there and provide a way for new members to, it's basically the FAQ for Toastmasters. I'm just trying to find it very quickly now. Of course, they've moved it. Now they've changed the menus at the top. If I go to pathways, yep, they've moved it. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll have a look and I'll actually send a note to District. But the navigator itself is a tool that a member can find really, well, apparently not anymore, but you can ask a question and it's there.
Has it been updated though, Darrel? Has it been updated, or is it as it originally came out?
No, it has been updated. Oh, Sue's just posted to the chat.
Okay.
Oh, that's a PDF though.
If you go into your profile, it says View Navigator right there.
Okay, so you need to log in to see it now. Yeah, so in the profile, the navigator is there, and it basically tells you about club roles. It tells you about club activities. It tells you about all sorts of things. So I won't go on too much more about it now. I'll leave it for everybody to look, but it's a huge, massive resource for new members. You know, once they get in there and they log into Toastmasters International, Navigator is a great place to start. But what I want to do for the last few minutes, I'm not sure how many minutes I have left, but I just want to open it up. In our breakout areas, did anybody come across a new idea or something they hadn't heard of before that they thought or think might be worthwhile to share with the group in terms of your particular section that you were talking about?
Okay, can I start with the first impression since was the first topic? Okay, I think one of the key takeaways I had from the discussion from the group, one, I think set up the room early.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see professionalism in the room where everything is set up when the guest comes in, whether it's 7:15, everything is all set up. So I think a lot of time we are rushing to set things up. So that part, I think everything is ready and they see everything in a very organized manner. That's the first impression that comes to every member. Second, there's someone attending to the guests. That's the most important thing. When someone is attending to the guests, whether it's a VPM or another member, they're talking about why they're there and all that. These are some of the two things that will create a first impression. So, absolutely. I mean, of course, there's a lot more other things, but I think because of time, I thought I want to share these two things: professional setup and making sure every guest is attended. Yeah, and I'd like to amplify that. Just welcoming someone in. I mean, think about somebody that's really nervous and they're heading into this venue that may never have been to before, into this room that they've never been into before, with all these people that they've never met before. It's one of the most harrowing things you can do. And so just by having someone that can go up and, you know, be a friendly, welcoming face to start, that is so important, because if they're uncomfortable, they might just turn around and walk back out again. If you think about it from their perspective, they have no idea who you are. They have no idea what to expect for the night. And by having someone greet them, that's gold, absolute gold. Anybody else?
Just have about 3 minutes left, Kevin. Darrel, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll go by Kevin. That's cool.
What about sending out an agenda before they come?
To the guests?
If you know that they're coming, why not send an agenda so they've got an idea of what they're looking at? Because some people get a shock when they see it's time oriented and they say, oh, I didn't think it was quite so regimented. Yeah. Or formal. So, you know, sending out an agenda or at least letting them know pretty well what's going on.
Yeah. I have to say that both clubs I'm with at the moment, we actually send the agenda out to guests as soon as we know someone's coming. We've got the VPM or VPE that will pass that on to the guests and sort of welcome them and say that they're looking forward to catching up with them, all of that stuff. So that's a really good one as well, setting those expectations. But then don't go 20 minutes late in the meeting. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
Dennis has got a...
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I'd like to say is, being a female in a smallish club, for me, that's what's important, is walking in and seeing another woman. And I guess that works for the men, although it seems, from what I understand, there's an awful lot of men doing Toastmasters. But that's important. And the friend who invited me actually met me and arranged a time in the car park. So right from the pulling into the car park, I was met. And then afterwards, we went for a debriefing down at Macca's for a coffee, which was just down the road. And it's important, I think, that you have a time to follow up, whether it's a card or thank you for coming, or it's a phone call or whatever it is. But it's just, we've gotten through the meeting, and now what did you like? What does this mean? What do those initials mean? And all these things, I think you need to have a debrief at the end.
Yeah, very good point. I like that. I like that indeed.
Or give it 2 to 3 days later to send them a message saying, you know, how did you feel? What do you need to be updated on? Have you got any questions? When they've had time to think, what the hell happened?
What did I just experience? Yeah, absolutely.
Darrel,
Alrighty.
oh, have you got time? No.
Yeah, no, 1 more minute. Go for it, Nola.
Speaking for 1 minute. Okay, here I go. At Lilydale, we got 6 members that just fell from the sky. And so we were inundated, and being VPM, I had to think outside the box. So what I did was contact everybody, of course, and ask them to come early, and I took them away from the meeting room for about 15 minutes. And we had one-on-one conversation. So the new members, because sometimes we had 3 or 4 turn up at once, and it's very hard to disperse those people. Mm-hmm. And we went through the agenda, and then we allotted them buddies so that they could demystify the agenda. And so myself as VPM asked a few pertinent questions, and at the very beginning of the meeting, I then shared those points on my expectations, where they were married, where they heard about Lilydale Toastmasters, just a very short profile. And so when we went to supper, halfway through the meeting, we had conversation starters instead of talking about the weather. And everybody has their name in front of them, which I think you call them name tents or something. Yeah, I think that they're very important. And if you've got them all ready to place in front of them, they feel special. Yeah. Anyway, we retained 6, and we were again President's Distinguished. So that was just amazing. But the universe sent them to me. We just had to keep them. And so far, so good.
Excellent.
A little over 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. Just finishing up. The last slide I said that I'm not a big fan of, and I need to finish this up. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, and that's true. But let me tell you that if you don't, like, if the first impression isn't awesome, then you have a second impression and a third impression and a fourth impression that you can make. And for me, don't give up. Just have a really great second impression. You know, things can go wrong. Have that opportunity and that recognition that first impression, yeah, it mightn't have gone well, but you can always have a second and a third impression to push through. Thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for the opportunity to present this team. I appreciate it.
Very much, Darrel, and he's not off the hook completely because towards the end of this session, the last 15 minutes, we have an open Q&A. So if you do have any burning questions that you wanted to ask during the presentation but were far too polite to disengage as we were doing it, then please hang around for the Q&A. Next up, we have a very interesting explanation of a role that the district hasn't had for a while. So I would like to invite Alison to please take the focus and to explain to us around this wonderful club retention chair opportunity and what it offers. Please welcome Alison.
Thank you, Kevin. Can you help me to share my screen? Sorry, I'm traveling at the moment, so I'm just on my iPad. Graeme, can you help me to share the screen if that's possible?
You want me to share your presentation?
Yes, I did send it through to Sue earlier today.
Yep, no worries, just a moment.
Yep, thank you.
And in case anybody recognises the name, Alison is from North Adelaide Toastmasters and is a guru when it comes to generating people showing up and wanting to learn. So this is the lady that I mentioned earlier. So
Thank you, Darrel.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Darrel, for your kind words. So while we are waiting, I'll just introduce a bit about my role. So my role is Club Retention Chair. So this position is mainly focusing on 2 tasks. So first of them is, oh, here you go. So I'll head the club coach committee, which assists with the club coach program. And the second one is promoting membership building program designed by Toastmaster International and lots of other programs as well. So just a quick quiz and just unmute yourself if you have the answer. What are the free membership building programs that we have in Toastmaster? Can you name it?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Smedley, yeah. What are the free membership building programs that we have in Toastmaster? Yes, Smedley is one.
Beat the clock.
Beat the clock, yes. And the final one, what is that?
Talk Up Toastmasters.
Yes, correct. And do you know Smedley Awards, what are the months it start and end?
August, September.
Start in August, finish in September.
August and September, yes. Talk Up Toastmaster. You cannot Google. Talk Up Toastmaster, what month? It's February and March. How about the final one? Beat the clock.
That's in June, before the end of the Toastmaster year.
Yes, correct. Is that Darrel?
It is.
Yes, awesome. Yes, so for this month, it will be the end of the Smedley Award, the 30th of September. So if your club have any, have more than equal or more than 5 new members or reinstate member, just put them in and you have the Smedley Award. Kevin, no, Graeme, can you head to the next slide, please? So my role will also be getting reports from the club coach committee, and the club coach committee will work with the club coaches, like recruiting them, train them, assigning club coaches to the club, develop action plans with the club coaches, review, following up with them. Also monitoring the effectiveness of the club coaches and how the clubs are progressing. And we also make sure that the club coaches are recognized by Toastmaster International. We'll ensure the club coach committee will report to the club growth director and the club retention chair. Right, I think that's it. And that's an overview of my role. Any questions?
Yes.
This is the club coach committee. This is what? This is at a club level,
no.
Or this is at an area level? Like where exactly is it fitting in?
District level.
At
So
the district level.
club, yeah, club retention chair will be sitting in the district level, and my position will be heading the club coach committee and work with the club coach director and club coach coordinator, which is Simon. He'll be presenting next. Yep. Rajiv.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a question. Do we have club coaches who are kind of more specialized for online clubs? But my club is moving from the normal, the physical meeting club to an online club. And I think we'll appreciate if we have an experienced coach in that area.
Yeah, I think Simon will be able to answer that question. He has the list of the club coach. So Simon is the club coach coordinator. So he will be able to help you with getting a coach with this specializing in online meetings.
Can I just say, Alison, that from my experience traveling the world with Toastmasters in Sri Lanka and Malaysia and India and these sort of places, this system works really, really well. I mean, they're well organized. They do it really, really well. Australia, not so much. This is fairly new in a lot of ways to Australia. And you're speaking here tonight to very experienced Toastmasters who would make wonderful club coaches. But the pressure seems to be on, this is my opinion, it seems to be that anyone can be a coach if they're looking to be a DTM. But I think if you want to coach clubs, and as you just said, or Aaron said, once experienced clubs, then you've got to go to experienced people. And those people are busy with other things most of the time. So I'm not sure how you're going to get over that.
Well, that falls more in Simon's remit than Alison's.
Yes, and if I may speak to that, I think Simon is well versed in the amount of experience that the current coaches that have been assigned have. And if he did not know what their experience was, he'd be asking questions.
Oh, I agree. And in fact, I've mentored and coached Simon a lot of the time anyway, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's fairly new to us. In those other countries, they've been doing this for years, so they've got a head coach, they've got a head judge, they've got all these sort of things. And
we've got Alison now. We've got Alison now.
Good. So I'm not arguing against you.
I'm really excited by the whole discussion that's going on. That it means that you're so eager that you want us to talk about it before the presentation's there. So I am so pleased to hear this. But I'll mute for now, and we'll let Alison have her day.
Good to me.
Thanks, Simon.
I have one question. David also mentioned, and I heard something else as well during the presentation. The link with the coach and the DTM. What's that link? Can anyone help me understand that?
Could I trouble you to save that question towards the end of the session?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
If that's all right, Aaron.
Yeah, that's fine, Karen. Thanks.
We'll put it in the parking lot, and then we'll make sure that gets addressed properly. And I have a funny suspicion that Simon's going to mention that as one of his carrots.
I'll make a note of it just in case we forget.
Thank you. Alison, is there anything else that you would like to add, or are there any questions specifically focused around the idea of a retention chair?
No, all good from me. And I know I'm a bit over time as well. So I'll hand it back to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Oh, that is awesome. Guess what, Simon? You get an extra 5 minutes. What I'm now going to do is hand over the focus of this evening to Simon Walliker, DTM, who is going to teach us all around club coaching and what he's doing for the district.
Excellent. Just bear with me as I attempt to share my screen. You can see that okay?
You can.
Excellent. So I'm going to be talking today about questions, some of the questions that you may ask, some of the questions that I asked myself when I started this. I've been involved with a number of clubs over the years, but my main focus has always been on the lovely Frankston Toastmasters. But being a distinguished Toastmaster, you find yourself traveling from club to club, that's where contests are really great, because it forces you to get beyond the club. So if you don't do that, it's really great. So let's see if my little thing works. So club coaching and how you can support clubs. Let's see if this works. Yep, there we go. What is a club coach? So a club coach is an experienced Toastmaster who coaches a club to rebuild membership and restore the quality club environment. Now, we'll pack some of this down in a moment. The goal of a coach is to help that club achieve recognition in the Distinguished Club Program. Distinguished Club Program, what is this DCP thing? And that's really a common method of each club prescribed by Toastmasters International as pretty much a health check for each club. It was great that we had moments of truth before, because it's where each club in that moments of truth asks themselves, what is our club all about? What direction are we going? Questions and answers are a really great thing, and this helps form a club. When is a club eligible to receive a coach? Now, we heard Alison before. Alison is the club retention chair. That's where you've got 12 members or more, but you haven't achieved that distinguished club status. So therefore, you're coming up to that. Where we're talking about a club coach at the moment, it's where the club must have at least 3, but no more than 12 members in good standing at the time of the appointment. The club must not be suspended or closed, and the club must not have more than 2 coaches appointed at any one time. Now, what is good standing? We'll touch on that on one of the other slides later on. Now, what is the goal? Each club has different goals. You'll find this out from conducting a Moments of Truth. But the common goals that we have from this is education and leadership. So education being the Pathways Education Program, trying to get people online, completing their goals of doing speeches, doing tasks. The common misconception of people is if a Toastmasters meeting is held once a fortnight, then that is all the commitment. But that is not the case. I submit to you that if your club meets once a fortnight, the other fortnight is still a Toastmasters day. It's just the homework at home, going on to Pathways, going on and doing research and what have you, writing down your speech. So Toastmasters is really a weekly proposition for every Toastmaster. Yeah. Then we talk about members and communication. Now, members, we heard before in the old program, it was, if I read correctly in the chat, for the next 2 years, and then it'll be revised, it's a net growth of 3 or 20 members that we're aiming for. Communication as well. That's a very important thing. It's great that you've got members, but you've got to make sure that that line of communication, you'll notice that there's 2 phones there. Communication is a 2-way street. You've got to hear from them. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth. My friend Michael Lilly said that more than enough occasions for that to be burned into my memory. And then we talk about administration and sustainability. Now, administration, that means getting in the paperwork on time, doing the agendas and making sure that's out there with enough time for people to plan. but also the sustainability. When we're talking about leadership, that's raising your hand at every opportunity that comes your way. But also, when you've raised your opportunity, look for the next opportunity. At a District 73 dinner, we had Richard Peck come along, past international president. He had one little takeaway. If you're doing a role, then perhaps you should be looking for a different role in the next 12 months, because that way you have the ability to grow. If you're in that one same role for the next, let's say, 4 years, number one, you're not really growing yourself, but number two, you're preventing somebody else from growing. So it's about finding that person to take over from you. And I know with the smaller clubs, yes, it's hard to do, but swap it around. You know, the president, let's say the VPE becomes the VPM and the VPM becomes the VPE. Swap it around yearly basis until you can find somebody else to come in and fill those shoes. You're a team, let's work as a team. So it's paperwork, continuity, membership, communication, education, and leadership. These are the common goals that we're looking for. I sound a bit preachy, don't I? Who can become a club coach? Now, here is my sales pitch to you. Membership. Membership is very important. You must be a paid up member in a club of good standing. We come to this good standing bit again. So that means that you need to be a paid member of Toastmasters International. That's not an honorary member or a club coach or whatever. That means you're a paid up member. You've paid your dues. Additionally, the club, your home club, needs to be a minimum of 8 members. That means your club is in good standing. So therefore, you are a member or a paid member of a club in good standing. And in its new version, we've had a recent update. You must not currently be nor have been a member of the club that you wish to coach for the past 6 months. Previously, you could be a member of the club and coach as well, but it's been found that there's sort of a conflict of interest. You're not necessarily advising, you're participating. So that's sort of where the revision's been taken place. Let's move on to leadership. You have served as a club officer for a minimum of 1 annual term and have completed a minimum of Pathways Level 2 or the legacy programs of Advanced Communicator Bronze, which is ACB, or Advanced Leadership Bronze, ALB. And additionally, and this is a new thing here, you have completed the Club Coach Program training module, which is found on the Pathways Educational Program. It doesn't take that long. It's about 30 minutes out of your day. If you're going to take on this role, most of it you should already know. It's pretty easy. But if not, it's a great refresher. And then be appointed by the district following sending a completed club coach agreement to Toastmasters International. So that form, make sure you fill it out, you send it through to myself and the club growth director. We'll have a conversation with you, make sure that it's a match, and then we'll get the ball rolling. Nolan, you're on mute, good buddy.
I'm not aware that, pardon me, that I signed one of those, but I am old and I do forget things. Have you got any coaches appointed that have not completed that agreement, Simon, at the moment?
We're in the process of sieving through all of that and getting
okay.
on part. But if I recall correctly, you were from the previous term carrying over.
Yes, I was. Okay.
I would need to refresh my paperwork to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the case with you.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent question, though. Nola, can you put yourself on mute, please? Thanks, good buddy. How long does the club appointment last? Because this is time out of your day. Club coaches are appointed for a maximum of 2 program years, including the program year in which they're appointed. If by the end of that appointment time, the club coach is unsuccessful in achieving that distinguished club status, if in agreement with the club and the committee, they can choose to be reappointed by the district again. All qualification requirements for a club to receive a coach are waived on reappointments. I'll need to look a bit further into that part, but that's coming directly from them.
Simon, could I comment on that?
Please.
My impression on that one is that in the time that you were coaching, that you may have had some changes in the club and there may be a few more members have joined, but insufficient to give the coach the acclamation that they've achieved it. But if they're being reassigned, they would have to have dropped back to be under 12, and that would sort of be a waste. So my impression from that is that they can continue on from where they've already gone,
Absolutely.
but have not achieved it.
And that would make some sense. Yvonne, from memory, was a sniff away from achieving it over in Tasmania and didn't quite get there, but super close. A club coach provides the tools. I put that sentence that way because one of the common misconceptions is when the club coach comes on board that the club coach is going to do everything for you. It is you as the club that needs to do the work. The coach is there to give you the tools, to give you the advice, to give you the encouragement, the support. It's not the doing. The doing is on you. So those tools include building rapport with the club leaders and members, instilling enthusiasm, camaraderie, and structure within the club, assessing the club environment, recommending the best practices for success, working with club leaders to develop a club successful plan. Now, what is a club successful plan? Well, whenever you've got a business or you're starting off a business, you have a business plan. Well, when you've got a club, a Toastmasters club, they've done all the hard work for you, as in all the templates, etc. It's just the club success plan. How do you plan on moving forward as a club? And this particular document helps you out doing that and encouraging the club to strive for the distinguished club program and achieve their goals. Now, the common hurdles that we find with clubs when club coaches come in is, and also the relationship, and that's why communication is so important. Club coaches must realize that your club, whilst it's successful, is not the club that you're going to be coaching. You can't impose your club onto that club. Every club has its own personality. I know not a lot of people like to hear about this. And last year I heard a couple of people talk about Toastmasters as though it's McDonald's, as in if there is a McDonald's, there can be a club there. I heard that sentence a number of times. And whilst I understand the analogy, I don't submit to Toastmasters being McDonald's. What I do submit to, and maybe this is the Melburnian in me, but maybe they're a Lavazza, a coffee. You go into every cafe and you got Lavazza, you got whatever other brand of coffee that's out there, and you got your coffee machine there, but every cafe has its personality. There's cafe all over the place, but every place you're going to get your flat white, you're going to get your cappuccino, you're going to get your long black or whatever your poison is. So there's that. So not every club's going to be the same, and don't expect it to be the same. Every club's got its own hurdles. It's got a different demographic to the area. So you've got to adjust to that. Personality problems. But I can see Nola singing there. I want to sing with you. I love karaoke. But every club does have its own personality, and it's based on its members, and its members have a whole heap of personality about them. Not always are they going to be the happy campers. Sometimes they're going to be cross little campers. Sometimes they're going to have their knickers in a knot. But we're all human beings. We're all there for a purpose. We're all there to learn and strive and become our best that we can be. And then the other thing that both the clubs find themselves in is burnout. And this is the saddest part, that you get a couple of people that's been really giving it their all, but they've just been going about it maybe the wrong way or the wrong angle or whatever it might be. Maybe wrong's not the right word, but whatever it is, it hasn't been working, but they've given it all. And by the time the coach comes along, they're just so exhausted, they can't get across the line to get that. They need that rejuvenation. And sometimes the club coach can help them get that rejuvenation, but sometimes they can't. And that's really sad. Let me tell you a tale of two clubs. On one side, we had a club that was on the ropes in 2021. And by the end of the 2022 year, we had the plan for it to happen over 2 years, but it happened in one. It became a President's Distinguished Club. Now, we're very proud of that success. But at the same time, whilst it looks as though this other club I had some involvement with, there was a club that chartered in 1993, but closed its doors in 2021. In realistic terms, it probably could have closed its doors in 2019, maybe 2018. It's an example like that, where you had a small select group of people that just kept on going and going and going, and they kept it there for as long as they could. You go to the President's Distinguished Club. I had a choice of a couple of clubs that I could have become a club coach to. I had Club A, Club B. I chose Club B because every single club officer went to club officer training. You know what that told me? That they had the intent to succeed. Didn't matter if they were going to succeed, they had the want. If you've got the want, then that's the recipe for success. And that's what they did. They did the training. They did the club success program. They did a revised version, a condensed version of the Moments of Truth. They didn't hold contests, but they didn't hold contests for a reason. They had progression that was going through, and they didn't want to lose the momentum. So they had a reason. So I supported them for that reason, and they continued on. They had an excellent membership program, and I stole a lot of their ideas for my own club. But that's what you do as a Toastmaster. You visit clubs, you grab ideas, you take it to your own club. That's where that whole going beyond your club is really great. Visit other clubs that are successful and visit other clubs that aren't so successful. Share the love around, go around. We go to the other club that closed its doors in 2021. Towards the end of times, it was coming, I visited them online, and the president would get there and he would open the meeting and he would go, I hate Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings are the worst, but welcome everybody. I'm really happy to see you here. And that was his president's address. Really inspiring. Lovely bloke, great speaker, best evaluations, just brilliant. But comes to a president trying to be the cheerleader of the club, not exactly a great cheer. Then we come out of the lockdown and then we're visiting people, but they haven't got enough members to go to their original venue. So they had to find a venue. So they were sharing it from people's homes to people's homes. So by doing that, we talked about how terrifying it is for a new member to come to a club for the very first time and not see anybody there that they know. Throw on top of that, going to somebody's house that you've never met before in the dark. Just terrifying. They were never going to get any members like that. So I sat there, I spoke to them and I said, just plainly, do you want to still keep on going? Do you want this club to continue going? What do you want out of this club? I asked the hard questions and they said, and this is where I call it a success. They said, we're going to give it another 6 months and we're going to give it our all. If it doesn't work, then we'll close up shop. And they did exactly that. They held events. They found a venue. They did all the right things. But it was down to those last couple of people, and they were burnt out. They left their run too late. Could they have had a club coach? They said no to club coach because the original club coach that they had tried to make them that particular club, tried to make a photocopy of their own club. It didn't work. That's where the President's Distinguished Club had the recognition, hey, an inner city club is going to be different than a suburban club. And that's where that worked. So we'll move on from the tale of these two clubs. But in a way, I see both of these as a success, just in different levels. I'm not sure how we're doing for timing. Graeme, how are we doing for timing, mate?
You've got about 6 minutes.
Excellent. So we'll touch on a couple of the other frequently asked questions. What do you receive for becoming a club coach? So upon appointment, you'll be sent a club coach pin to wear, and during club meetings, you'll be provided with helpful resources to aid you in your performing duties. And what do you receive if you're successful as a club coach, other than my adulation and, yay, you. If you're successful as a club coach to achieve recognition in the Distinguished Club Program, you will also receive credit in the education program and will be sent a certificate of accomplishment. The credit is not received until after the end of year results is final. And can an appointed club coach be removed? That is correct. An appointed club coach can be removed. Just recently, we had a club coach of a Melbourne suburban club for health issues. Oh, that's interesting. The lights went out. For health issues, the club coach had to pull out, and they're in the search for another one. So it's just a matter of filling out the paperwork, sending the request to both the Triple C, meaning the club coach coordinator, and the club growth director, and we'll inform Toastmasters International. Does the district have any authority to require a club to accept a coach appointment? The answer is no. Although our club coach program rules don't specifically say, hey, you must have a club coach, we do highly recommend it. But it is each club's prerogative to choose whether to or whether not. It used to be the president's decision. Now it is the committee's decision. That's a new change that's come on board. And we've already talked about a member in good standing. And do we have any audience questions? Can we unmute everybody?
Can I just ask Simon, you're saying a member in good standing. My understanding is you have to be a paid member in a club in good standing. So has that changed? Because that's how the wording is now. It's not a member in good standing anymore, is it? It's a paid member in a club in good standing. That's the wording in Toastmasters.
Yes, David. Yes, okay. It is a paid member of a club that is in good standing. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got a question. So,
please.
What's called distinguished club? So, how do you recognize it's a distinguished club?
Absolutely. There's three parts to that. There's the education side, there's the membership side, and there's the administration side. And there's also the training side. Well, I sort of call administration training as well. So administration meaning you get in to Toastmasters International, you get in your club officer stuff in on time, as in who your club officers are, and you get your membership dues, were at least 8 of them, in on time for both sessions. Then we go to training. Your club officers need to be a minimum of 4 of your club officers, although I recommend as many as you can get there, in all honesty. A minimum of 4 for each session. So there's 2 club officer training sessions a year, and they're a lot shorter than they used to be. So, and it's a free training, so free leadership training. So that's pretty good. And then we come to the membership. So if you've got a minimum of, you've got 4 members, that'll get you 1 point, and then another 4 members that'll get so eight members all up, that'll get you another 2 points together. And then you've got the education requirements. So pathways level 1, pathways level 2, pathways level 3, and however many of that, and that all adds up. So therefore you're doing your education, your administration, your membership, and your training as well. And that sort of shows that the club is of a healthy standard. And then you've got that minimum membership that's required as well. So a net growth of 3 for the next 2 years, and then it'll be under revision. It used to be 5, now it's 3, or a minimum of 20 members. And that'll be if you achieve, what is it? I think it's if you achieve, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't got it on screen.
5.
6. 6 is distinguished. 7.
No, 5 is distinguished.
5 distinguished. 7 select distinguished. 9 is president's distinguished. Mm-hmm. I hope that answers your question, Susanna.
Yeah, so you get, this is pointed. Education, how many, you achieve points. So if you finish how many levels?
It's all on the dashboard there. You can, and numerous places. We can spend a lot of time on that.
Okay, thank you then.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, folks, I'm going to call time at this point, and I think we can actually transition straight into the next part, which is our panel. So I will reveal myself so that you can see me. And we will have all of the people who have been presenters tonight on this panel. So Simon, Darrel, and Alison. And I shall handily highlight them for you so that you can see who they are. There's the wonderful Darrel, the inimitable Simon, and the where are we?
Oh, which is which? Which is which?
Which is
I
which?
was going to say it's not like it's a uniform. Thank you, Alison. You make it not a uniform anymore. Excellent.
Always interesting, Alison. Okay, where are we? And I'll put myself on there as well, just because I can. All right, folks. So all of our presenters tonight have given us a lot to think about. Moments of truth, club retention chair, and club coaching. Do we have some questions for our panel? And I haven't forgotten the one that Arun said before. In fact, we might as well lead off with Arun's question, which was, if I remember correctly, what is the link between being a club coach and a DTM?
Sure.
So to Simon, yep.
So if you're successful as a club coach, it gives you a certificate of accomplishment, and that can add to your method of becoming a distinguished Toastmaster along those lines. So it can be things like, I've sponsored a club, I've started a club, I've coached a club.
So apart from the normal pathways that you complete from level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and all, having these kind of an experiences or accomplishments of like the club coach that you mentioned, or sponsoring or starting a new club and all, are these kind of mandatory for you to become a DTM?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so for the DTM, there is a requirement not just for the pathways, but also for leadership. And part of that leadership is to undertake a district role. And what they've done, you don't have to be a district director or club growth. You can be a club coach and be recognised as a district leader, and that will qualify that requirement for you.
Yeah, so Sue's just posted something in the chat that I think explains the requirements to becoming a DTM. It includes things like you have to do 2 pathways, and then there's projects, and there's all sorts of things. But we have a wealth of people in the room, or a number of people in the room, that's probably a better way to say it, who are DTMs. So maybe we can ask them what kind of things they did. And I know Nola has a
This is Manny here from Glen Waverley. I'm in Glen Waverley Toastmasters, Manny. Okay, I've been a Toastmaster for 27 years. Okay, but what I would like to highlight is in Toastmasters, there are 2 pathways. One is the leadership track and the communication track. To get completely the DTM, we must complete these 2 tracks, communication and leadership. So the pathway is the leadership, this is the communication track. So the other aspect is to get the leadership side. That's what gives you the complete picture of becoming a distinguished Toastmaster, because to be a good communicator, you need not only the communication side of things, you also need to know how to deal with people, how to manage situations. So that is the holistic of what Toastmasters, my understanding is that's what Toastmasters developed. The leadership and the communication together, that's where you become the distinguished Toastmaster.
Nola has a question, or her hand up at least.
Thank you. I heard Suzanne's question differently to you, Simon. I thought she was asking how you become an advanced club.
That's
referred to in an earlier conversation, and I'm not sure of that. Is it the number of DTMs that are a part of the club that makes a club an advanced club as opposed to a community or a corporate club?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's yeah.
Is that what you asked, or did I hear that wrongly?
You heard it wrong.
Oh, right. Okay.
Perhaps Judith Talanoa can answer that because she knows about advanced clubs, don't you,
Yeah,
Judith?
to be an advanced club is that everybody is supposed to be completed 2 levels in a what used to be the CTM or the CC in the old legacy. So you complete 2 levels and then you can be in the advanced club. And an advanced club usually meets once a month, but you don't have to be a DTM.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I just ask you, to be in an advanced club, do you also have to be a member in another club? Well, you'd have to be, wouldn't you, to get the level?
You are supposed to be. You
Yeah,
are supposed to be.
okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That, otherwise, you're not because usually advanced club, you're a dual member.
That's right.
Because you are supposed to, as a Toastmaster, you are expected to attend. It may have changed, remember, 28 years. You're supposed to attend 22 meetings a year, or the club is supposed to hold 22 meetings a year, which means you're expected to attend most of those 22 meetings a year.
Yeah.
So
Kevin,
yes, you need to be a dual member.
Yeah, Kevin's just said they're only in the setup. So when you're setting up the other club, is that right, Kevin? You
Yes,
set up an advanced club, you must be in another club, and then you don't have to be. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could stay in an advanced club once you've joined the advanced club, and then that be your only club. But I believe when you charter that advanced club, it's chartered with dual members usually.
Okay.
But it is a definition that you give of your entry qualification when you create it as an advanced club now. So you could turn around and say, I'm chartering this advanced club, and this advanced club requires everyone to have completed at least one path.
Right.
And then that is your criteria, your entry criteria. So it's a bit more open than it used to be.
Yeah, and some advanced clubs only meet once a month, so that you would have to be a dual member to get the 20 meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, Sue has her hand up. Sue?
Some people use the criteria for the contest to judge an international contest, so that you have to have been of a certain level and have completed 2 levels. So they've got that criteria as well that they use as to help support that level that you have to be at to be in the advanced club.
And some people use it as a cheat to be able to establish a club, because you get a whole load of people that are dual members who can join, and then you don't need the brand new members criteria. And then after being an advanced club for a year, they drop it down to a standard community club.
Surely not.
Believe it or not.
There you go.
Gaming the system, who'd have thought it?
That's called anti-integrity, Nola.
Questions for Darrel, for Alison, for Simon. Simon has a question. No?
No, I just wanted to say hello.
The process.
You can ask questions of each other. That's fine.
Go on then. I've got the obvious one. The elephant in the room. We've been losing clubs left over centre, and it's been or hand over fist, or whatever analogy you wish to use. And we have lots of different excuses for it. And I'm really not overly interested in the excuses why. But are there some key strategies or key elements that you're going to focus on this year to help us keep the clubs that we've already got? Because obviously it's a lot easier to keep a club than it is to be able to create one.
100% agreed.
Question 2, Kevin.
To Simon in the first instance, and then Alison.
Okay.
Sure, not a problem. Yes, so it's really, firstly, the year so far is really just getting a hold of things, getting to this point of time where our memberships are due and they're coming in, and we'll have a clearer picture of where we are past this point when we hit October, and then it's hammer and tong where we go from there. That's the concept at the moment. Providing we also have Alison, Jules, myself have a monthly catch-up And we also have a bit of a WhatsApp between us if there's any questions that are going on amongst the three of us, and we batter it out. So there's that continual line of dialogue between the three of us. So we're able to get our ducks in a row, so to speak. So it seems to be going so well, fairly well so far, but we're about to hit second gear very shortly. So that's the plan. As far as clubs themselves, my advice is have that discussion amongst yourselves, the moments of truth, put together a club success plan if you can, or if you need time for the coach to come along, then do that. But it's really trying to set up your club ready to receive. Sort of think of it like a basketball defense, so to speak. I'm a basketballer, you might have guessed.
I would like to share a strategy, if I may.
Please.
I'm a coach for CSIRO, and of course they've got hundreds and hundreds of people that are there, and they've come up with an idea of running a debate. They've got a wonderful hall in which to hold it, and they've asked people to register. They've got 50 people that are coming to look at this debate, and my suggestion to them is that they've got to have a carrot. Did you hear that, Graeme? That was carrot, like I mentioned before. And the carrot is that if they go to a Toastmasters meeting in the middle of the day, when they've had a long day, they don't have to go home, leave the family and go out to a meeting. They can have the training within their workspace. And they're optimistically hoping for 3. I am optimistically hoping for 5. So it'll be interesting to see how we go. Because I think if we're going to have all 50 people in a room, that's an enormous opportunity to gain new members. But we have to tell them what's in it for them, you know, the old whiffer. Because if they don't think there's a benefit to them, of course they won't join. Can people think of anything else that we could add to the carrot, apart from not having to go out, and of course the company pays for their membership?
Absolutely, and then there's things as well, and the District 73 team have put together some marketing material in the past. I'm sure we'll be able to get our hands on it, but it talks about what life skills, what working skills can each of these things provide somebody. So it's an advantage to actually build upon one's successes, both communicating at home and at work. So if that can be communicated to the potential member, then maybe that is a carrot within itself.
Well, everything crossed, as they say. Darrel.
Sorry, Alison, did you have something? You go first if you've got something.
Yes, I just want to quickly share some strategy. So from my roles at the moment, as the club retention chair, so myself, Simon and Jules, we are working together very closely every month, like Simon mentioned. And personally, I'll be visiting the clubs when I'm back from a trip in South Australia. So some of the club I'll come and visit, because I think the issues are different in various clubs and clubs. So personally, I'll go to visit the clubs. And if sorry, I missed the person who asked the question, but if you are an area director, I would highly recommend you to visit the clubs, or if you are the president or any club officer. So just do a frequent health check on the club. Like I'm the president of Mount Adelaide, so I do quarterly health check with my club officer to see how our club is progressing towards achieving the distinguished club program, and check on any other issues that we are having. So that would be my my advice.
Alison does bring up a good point there.
I'm just gonna call time here because we have hit 9. Clearly, there's a lot of things to discuss here, but I'll hand it over to our Toastmaster, Kevin, so that we can formally round out the meeting and then we can continue our discussion. Thank you, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Graeme, and to the panel. Thank you all very much. It's very active discussion, which is great. And this is a big topic to try and unpack, particularly with the strategies that Alison was starting to help us understand there. So hopefully people have time and the appetite to perhaps stay on for a little bit longer outside of this session. But I do recognize that people have commitments and they're time boxed. And I do close this meeting as it is now, and I'm going to end the recording and thank everyone for their participation. These sessions only work because people come along and they share, and we get to turn around and benefit from the experience of others in letting us know what has worked in the past and what hasn't, and to be able to experiment with those ideas in what I consider to be one of the safest environments you could possibly do this in. So my thanks to everyone, and I close the meeting.
Thank you, Kevin.
If we can
Do we have a feedback sheet or not?
Yes, we do. Darrel,
No,
just a minute. Wait, stop, hold it. Just don't go yet. Wait. Oh, usually right on top of this. Yeah, I get fired from the co-chair.
You will never get fired, my friend.
Yeah, that's
no one works as cheaply as you do.
As cheaply?
Yeah.
As inexpensively.
Oh dear. Okay,
that's cost effectively.
Cost effectively. That's
cost effectively. Let's get it right.
Okay, there is a link in the chat there. If you'd like to hit that and give us some feedback, that would be great. Thank you very much.
I have a question.